You're here with the deep dive because, well, you want to know what's important and you want to know it quickly.
Yeah.
Today, we're really zeroing in on Pi Network, specifically its token, PI. It's been on a bit of a wild ride.
It really has.
We saw this, 80% bounce back in just 1 week? And now everyone's asking, could it actually hit $1?
That's the big question, yeah.
Yeah.
It's buzzing everywhere.
So our mission today is basically to cut through all that noise, all the hype, and give you the core insights. What's really behind this surge, and how realistic is that $1 target anyway?
Exactly. Let's try and unpack the actual information we have.
Okay, let's dive in. So this price jump, it wasn't exactly small potatoes, was it?
No, definitely not. We're talking PI jumping from, around 20 cents up to over 36 cents.
In just 7 days. That's a serious move.
It is, and it really points to a pretty significant shift in how the market's feeling about Pi Network right now. A jump that fast, it's just several factors are probably hitting all at once.
Right, and it wasn't just the price chart going almost vertical. The sources say trading volume went way up too, and social media just kind of exploded.
Precisely, yeah. The higher trading volume confirms there's genuinely more interest, more activity around PI. It's not just passive watching.
And the social media stuff, like hashtag #PaiDoSimoon.
Well, that acts almost like a public excitement meter, And sometimes that kind of buzz can even feed itself, create a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Interesting. So the key question then is, what's actually fueling this? Is it just hype, just online chatter, or are there concrete reasons behind it?
Look, from what we're seeing in the sources, it seems like a mix of both, really. There are signals pointing towards actual progress within the Pi network itself.
Okay.
And then there's the enthusiasm, the reaction from its pretty huge community.
Okay, let's break those down. The big one everyone mentions is the mainnet. Sounds like Pi Network's been talking more about that lately.
Yes, definitely. The increased communication about the open mainnet launch, which is apparently rumored for later this year, maybe late 2024.
Right.
That seems to be a major driver. I mean, community's been waiting for this specific step for a very long time.
Yeah.
So any hint of progress, any bit more clarity, it tends to boost confidence almost immediately.
And they're not just talking about flicking a switch, are they? The sources mention potential major ecosystem upgrades, things like DeFi, NFTs.
That's right. And the idea of bringing in decentralized finance, DeFi apps, and NFTs into the Pi ecosystem, well, that paints a picture of a future where the PI token actually does something.
Utility, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More than just being something people speculate on. But, the big challenge there will be whether Pi can offer something genuinely unique or better than the DeFi systems that are already out there and, frankly, quite established.
Good point. Okay, so moving from the future plans to something more immediate, exchange listings. It seems like PI has actually popped up on a couple of exchanges recently.
Absolutely. The fact that it's now trading on platforms like HTX and Bitmart, that makes it way more accessible.
Just easier to buy and sell for regular folks.
Exactly. It opens the door for more people to trade it, which can directly boost demand and, well, the price. So yeah, these listings are basically widening the pool of potential traders.
And then there's the elephant in the room, or maybe the hope in the room. A potential Binance listing? That would be massive, wouldn't
Oh,
it?
it'd be huge. Yeah. A Binance listing would just dramatically ramp up PI's visibility, its liquidity, making it easier to trade large amounts, and frankly, its perceived legitimacy in the wider crypto world. Even just the rumor or the anticipation of a Binance listing can generate a lot of buying interest on its own.
Okay, so beyond the tech side and the exchanges, there's the Pi Network community itself. We keep hearing about how big it is.
It's a major force. You can't underestimate it. We're talking over 50 million users, apparently. That sheer size creates a really powerful network effect.
What does that mean exactly, network effect?
It just means the value increases as more people use it. Their combined belief, their activity, their willingness to hold on to the coin, it can all significantly sway the project's direction. And yes, its price.
And part of the activity involves getting verified, right? The KYC process. It sounds like that's speeding up.
Exactly. Know your customer, KYC. As they approve more people faster, it means more users are actually getting access to the PI they've been mining on their phones.
Which could mean more sellers, potentially.
It could, yeah. It might increase the circulating supply. But on the other hand, it also means more users are ready to actually use their PI in the ecosystem once the mainnet is live. So it cuts both ways.
Right. And we touched on the social media buzz earlier. The memes, the price predictions all over Twitter, TikTok. Does that really matter?
Oh, it does. In crypto especially. Sentiment is incredibly powerful. All that chatter, the memes, the predictions, it can create this intense FOMO, fear of missing out.
Ah, FOMO. Yeah.
And that pulls in new buyers who are afraid of missing the next big jump, which, further pushes up the price. It's a whole psychological loop.
Okay, so mainnet hype, exchange listings, a huge community FOMO. It paints a clearer picture of the surge. Now, let's tackle that big one. Can PI actually hit $1? What's the argument for it happening?
All right, the bull case. Well, the core argument is if the open mainnet launch goes smoothly and if the network starts seeing real-world use.
Like people actually using it for payments or those Web3 apps, the NFT stuff.
Exactly. If there's genuine demand for the PI token because it does useful things, then yeah, that demand could definitely drive the price up towards and maybe even past $1.
And that Binance listing we talked about. If that dream scenario happens, how much does that help the $1 case?
We'll combine a successful mainnet launch with growing utility and Binance listing. That could be the perfect storm. You would bring in a massive wave of liquidity and investor confidence, potentially providing the momentum needed to reach that $1 mark. It just opens it up to so many more buyers.
And what about the community's loyalty? I mean, they stuck around through this long mining phase, even trading these IOU versions before it was even on exchanges. Does that count for something?
I think it does, yeah. It suggests a pretty strong level of commitment, a real belief in the project's potential, that loyalty could mean less selling pressure right after the mainnet launches. People might hold on expecting future growth. That would definitely help price stability and upside potential.
Okay, that's a sunny side. Now let's put on our skeptic hats. What are the big arguments against PI hitting $1? The bear case.
Right. So a major concern, probably the primary one for skeptics, is that this current price pump is mostly driven by, well, hype and speculation about the mainnet launch.
Rather than actual proven utility.
Exactly. Rather than concrete, widespread use cases that exist today.
Yeah.
So if the mainnet launches and it sort of underwhelms, or those use cases don't really take off, the hype could vanish pretty quickly, leading to a sharp price correction, a sell-off.
And delays are almost standard in crypto, aren't they? What if the mainnet gets pushed back again?
Delays are a definite risk, yeah. If it drags on too long, that could really damage community morale, test people's patience. Investors might just get fed up and sell, triggering that downward pressure we mentioned.
And you can't really look at any single crypto in isolation, right? The whole market matters.
Absolutely. Broader factors always play a role. Things like, what Bitcoin is doing that tends to influence the whole market. And any unexpected regulatory news, crackdowns, or even just new rules.
Yeah, that could throw a wrench in the works.
For sure. Negative shifts in the overall crypto climate or regulatory changes could definitely slow down PI's climb towards $1, even if the project itself is doing everything right.
Okay, interesting. The sources also mentioned a bit of technical analysis. Looking at the price chart itself, what does that suggest about the $1 target?
Well, from a purely technical angle, that $1.40 level seems to be a key hurdle right now, a resistance point.
Meaning it's hard to push past.
Yeah, the price has struggled there before. If PI can decisively break through 40 cents and crucially stay above it, that could signal more upward momentum is building, maybe opening the door to the 60-cent range.
And then potentially $1.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
But reaching $1 from there would still require a lot of sustained buying pressure, consistently positive news, and generally good market vibes. And, it's crucial to remember technical analysis isn't a crystal ball.
Right, especially in crypto.
Especially in crypto. It's notoriously volatile.
Yeah.
So charts give clues, but they're just one piece of the puzzle. Always got to do your own research, DYR.
So bottom line, even if this current upward trend continues, hitting $1 is far from guaranteed. Lots of ifs.
Precisely. There are just so many moving parts here, so many variables, and the situation can change really, really fast, which again just highlights why basing big decisions purely on today's price action or speculation is generally unwise.
We even saw in the sources a sort of snapshot of community feeling this hypothetical poll about hitting $1 this year. It was pretty split, wasn't it?
Yeah, quite revealing. It was something like 65% saying yes, PI will hit $1 in 2024, and 35% saying no.
And the reasons?
Well, the yes crowd mostly pointed to the mainnet launch as the big catalyst. When mainnet then $1. The no side, the skeptics, often brought up the dead coin label that's kind of followed Pi Network around for a while, questioning its fundamental value.
Wow, yeah. That really underscores the uncertainty, doesn't it? You've got diehard believers and equally strong Doubters, polarized views.
Exactly. And it just reflects the high-stakes game of investing in these emerging cryptos. The potential for big gains often comes hand in hand with, well, pretty significant risks.
So for everyone listening, thinking through all this, the potential, the risks, it's definitely worth considering where you stand on it.
Absolutely. Weigh the potential upsides against those very real challenges, factor in the broader market, and, form your own informed view.
Okay, let's try and summarize this deep dive then. We've unpacked this pretty dramatic recent price surge for Pi Network's PI token. We looked at the potential drivers that mainnet hype is a big one, new exchange listings making it easier to trade, and the sheer power of that massive, enthusiastic community.
Right. And then we weighed the arguments for and against hitting that ambitious $1 target.
Yeah, considering things like, will it have real-world uses? Will it get on major exchanges like Binance? And how will the wider crypto market behave?
Those are the key takeaways, I think. And it's worth repeating. The crypto world moves fast. This current momentum around Pi, it could shift very quickly, up or down.
So as you process all this information, the crazy price climb, the possible reasons, the bullish versus bearish outlook, here's maybe a final thought to chew on. Based on everything we've discussed, what single factor do you personally believe will be the most decisive, the absolute linchpin in determining if Pi Network actually hits $1 and maybe more importantly, sticks around as a viable project long term?
That's a great question to ponder.
Something to think about. Thanks for diving deep.